Hey everybody. So today I want to talk about a topic that somebody reached out to me about recently. And, it's something that I really struggled with as well. So before I get into it, I just want to share that everything that I share with you guys, I've tried on myself and I used it to help myself through, everything that came up, surrounding my daughter's addiction. And, I used it to help me get to the other side. And then I used it on clients as well. So anything that I bring to you guys on a video is things that I've already tried on myself and on clients, and I know that it's going to help. So, because what I'm talking about today is going to be, it's a pretty emotional issue. And so I don't want you to think that I'm like, oh, I just read this in a book and I'm going to, sounds like a good idea. I'll throw it out there and see if it works. No, I just want you to know I've done this stuff and I've dealt with it. And so I really understand and I know that it works. And, I don't want to waste anybody's time with just an idea of something. It really is, everything I share are things that I've practiced in my own life. So, this person reached out to me about being paralyzed in fear about their child overdosing because of their addiction and overdosing and dying. And, I just remembered what it was like for me when I was stuck in that place where I was doing that all the time. My brain would always go to the worst case scenario. I would be picturing her alone, dead in a hotel room, and nobody would know how to get a hold of me. That was always, one of my worst fears, that she would die alone. And I, just dealt with that over and over again, day after day, and it was really consuming me for a while. And it was really affecting, just how I felt every day. And I, would get like panicked if I couldn't talk to my daughter within, I had to hear from her at some point every day. And then if I couldn't, didn't hear from her, I would keep messaging her and I would just try to find some comfort in the fact that the text message went through. And if the text message went through, it meant that her phone was charged. And if her phone was charged, then I would allow myself to believe that everything was okay and she just wasn't responding. And, so I was relying on all of these external factors. All of these things were controlling how I felt. And, I know that I needed to get some control over this situation because it was just consuming me. And, every time I was thinking of this, then, I'm just getting this toxic dump of chemicals, and stress hormones in my body that, were just making me feel even worse in an already bad situation. So, I had to come to the realization first that what I was doing was not helping anything. Our brain is always trying to keep us safe. And so it's always looking for what might go wrong next. But we don't constantly indulge in that, right? I mean, there's just a million things that could go wrong every day, but they come up, and we just don't follow through on it. We redirect to something else. But the thing is, with this, a lot of times parents get, the same way I did, get stuck in it and they don't redirect. And then it just becomes more and more of a habit. And you create that neural pathway, and it's easier for your brain to go there over and over again. And so, it takes this awareness of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and, how you can stop it so that you don't have to live, with this horrible vision in your mind every day. So realizing that it didn't help was really important for me because it does seem important to think about because you want to be prepared, right? This is like the worst case scenario and you want to be prepared for it. But the thing about this scenario is there is no way to prepare for it, right? Like thinking about it all of the time is not going to make it any easier if it happens. Like there's no way to soften that blow, it's going to be devastating. And so instead of just being possibly devastated in the future if this happens, you're devastated over and over again, hour after hour, day after day, week after week. As long as you're thinking about it, then you're just experiencing that devastation over and over again. And it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, there is a way to get out of it. And, so it's just creating this fight or flight, feeling in your body constantly. And one of the ways, the first thing that's important to do is to just stop and breathe, right? Like when we're in fight or flight mode, we're breathing really shallow. And that's just sending another signal to our brain that something's wrong, because our brain and our body are constantly checking in with each other to maintain a state of homeostasis. So we think, in our brains work and on the think, feel, act cycle. So we think a thought like, oh my God, they're probably dead somewhere. And we, our brain releases a chemical, and that chemical is what produces the feeling in our body. And so then we've got this anxiety and fear and all this other stuff that's coming up in our body. And then we act based on that. And chances are, you're just paralyzed with fear. You don't know what to do next. You feel like everything is out of control. So, and then your brain's like, what's going on, body? And the body's like, we've got a lot of anxiety going on here. And so the brain's like, let's think more thoughts to maintain that anxiety. And so if we're not directing our brain, then that's what's happening in the background. I mean, that's always going on. Like, on my computer right now, there's programs running in the background, even though I'm not really aware of it. And that's how it is with our thoughts. And that process of trying to maintain the status quo is always going on in your body. So you have to really do something, intentional to enable yourself to step outside of it. Like I have this bracelet on this hand and I wear it all the time, and it says live with intention. And that just helps me remember to be very intentional with my thoughts, because my thoughts are what create how I live my life every day, if I'm happy or not. And there was a time that I lived my life extremely numb and really not experiencing much happiness, because I didn't really know how to manage my thoughts or anything. So, the first thing that I recommend doing is breathing, which sounds really obvious. You're already breathing, but you're probably breathing really shallow. So taking the time to take really deep breaths to calm your system down. Because when we're in that fight or flight mode, then it's really hard to engage the thinking and reasoning part of our brain. So, when emotions are really high, then your ability to reason and make decisions is low. So you got to start by, calming that system down, and taking long, deep, slow breaths is a great way to do that. And so one thing that I like to do is, like, I'll start, on my in breath, counting to 5, and then counting to 5 as I exhale. And then I'll go up to 6 the, next time, and then 7, and I'll go up as high as I can. And then I'll work my way back down until I start to feel calmer. And then the next thing that I do is ask myself questions. So questions are a great way to get your brain to, get out of those negative thought loops. It engages your prefrontal cortex. So now that you've got your system calmed down, you can start engaging that thinking part of and reasoning part of your brain easier. So I ask myself questions, and sometimes I even ask myself out loud. Sometimes I'm just thinking, sometimes I write, sometimes I ask out loud. It just depends on the moment. So you can try doing it in any of those ways. And, I just start is it possible that this could happen? Yeah, it is possible. Can I do anything? Can I prepare for this? Can I, help the situation in any way with all this worrying? And here's the important part. The answer is no. There really isn't anything you can do with this worrying. Now, if there was a tornado possibility, in springtime, and I used to live in Oklahoma, you want to be prepared for tornadoes. So you make sure that there's batteries working in all of your flashlights, and you've got water in your storm shelter, and it's cleaned out and there's no spiders in it. Like there's things that you can do to prepare, but then you also have to let it go. You can't just sit around thinking about tornadoes all day. And so, but in this situation, there's really nothing that you can do to prepare, right? I mean, it's just going to be devastating if it happens. But then again, we don't want to live in the possibility of every devastation all day, every day. There's a million things that could go wrong all day, every day, and we don't indulge in it. And this seems really, really important, but indulging in it does not help you. And so, just going along with asking yourselves those questions like, is it serving you? No, it's not serving you in any way. And so then I start redirecting my brain, being intentional with what I want to think. And I choose to think that, like, okay, right now I'm okay, right? In this very moment, I'm okay. Nothing has happened. And then I choose intentionally to think, right now, my daughter is okay. And, I don't have any reason to think anything other than she's okay. And I'm just going to choose to believe that until or unless I hear otherwise. And, we do that all day, every day. Like your brain, you're going to hear me say that and be like, but no, we do that all day, every day. Like if, you're getting ready to fly and, you have a fear of flying and you still get on the airplane, you're choosing to believe that you're going to be okay, even though you don't know 100% what's going to happen. You're getting in your car to drive. People get in accidents all the time, but you're choosing to believe that you're going to be okay when you get in the car and drive. And it's the same thing here. You couldn't get anything done in any day ever if all you went around thinking about was all the possibilities of all the things that can go wrong. So it's just bringing this back into, perspective and creating a new way of thinking about things that's controlled within you. It doesn't have to be controlled outside of you. You're not relying on hearing back from your child that they're okay all the time, or, just not relying on them doing something to let you know. It's having that ability to be able to walk yourself through these scenarios, having this inner calmness, this inner, ability to work through these situations, because, we don't know how long this is going to last. I always say it's, a marathon, not a sprint. And we have to take care of ourselves, and we have to take care of our health. And, thinking thoughts like this all day, every day is exhausting and debilitating, and there's a lot of parents who end up, they can't even work anymore, or they lose their job, or they lose, relationships that are important to them because their child's addiction has taken over their whole life. And so that's just one tool that you can use to, help you if you're paralyzed in fear with these debilitating thoughts every day. And I also would like to offer that I do a one-time single coaching session. It's 45 minutes and $17 for people who I've never coached before. So if you're struggling with this or anything else, then there's going to be a link in this post that you can use to sign up for one of those $17 coaching sessions. One, just to see what it's like to work with a coach and get an idea of how much it can help you, and get to experience working with a life coach. Like just a few years ago, before I started going through all this with my daughter, I didn't even know what a life coach was. So I just want to give people an opportunity to experience how much it can help you to work with a coach. So if you're interested in that, just use the link that's going to be in this post to sign up for coaching with me. And hopefully I'll see you soon on a call. It's a phone call. And then if not, I'll be back next week with another tool to share with you. Bye.